Somebody's hungry. Ooh, there's a big fish out there. Wow. A little bit of surface action this morning, but not a whole lot. Of course, it's kind of getting late in the morning. I'm above the Narrows. Some of you guys probably recognize the houses across the lake. Over in Point Morale area. Some pretty shallow water. They've drawn the lake down a little bit, not too bad. When I came up through the Narrows, I was just a little bit off, and when I sat down there in the middle of the Narrows, I caught some gravel with my prop. So, man, see, they're up there sipping, but they're not every place. So I guess I'll chase them. I've got a number 16 red and gold zebra midge on. I also have a scud underneath it, which probably ought to break it off, because the scud's it's from last time I was out. We had a mini front go through last night with some wind about 3 a.m. and that's why we have so much stuff on the surface of the water this morning. So I am casting at fish that are coming up and hitting the surface. So I know that that's an active fish feeding. See, like that right there. Well, they're not in love with my combination of flies, so I'm going to switch. I'll take off my scud. Just try the midge for a minute. There he is. I guess that scud was enough of a distraction that it wouldn't hit it wouldn't hit the midge. So I cast it at him because he had just hit the surface. I took my midge. I've got it set about a foot below the indicator. They're just very, very little midge action going on. Golly. I think what I'm gonna do is turn that camera. Turn that camera up a little bit. That way. My shoes are grabbing everything. Ooh. Yep. A little bit out of my range. One out there. Ah, they hit it twice. I looked up, the float was under. So I waited a minute and he hit it again. These rainbows are on the short and stocky side. I think I'm about ready just to go to a straight scud. See if I can't pick up a bigger fish. This is a little bit slow for me. Again, I'm looking around, my float's under. Here's pretty. Ah. Okay. What should I do here? Got a little blood. Sent the hook right up in my finger. I've got a brown marabou jig with an orange head under a float on my other fly rod, so I'm going to try that in this dead water. Say dead water, no current, no wind. Fishing about 5 foot deep. This would be an equivalent to a micro jig. Mine it's $2.50. There's a fish. It's a little bigger than fish I'm catching on a midge. Oh, there's a He's a little one. This bluff here faces west, so when the sun comes up, it comes up over this bluff. And this channel side over here stays in the shade till well into mid-morning, so it's usually pretty good fishing all the way up until 11 o'clock noon, as long as you stay in the shade. Talked to a couple of guys that came down out of the lookout area, and they said that they just crushed them on a little black 125th ounce marabou jig under a float. They're liking this brown with an orange head pretty well. I'm trying to keep myself in the shade, or at least looking, not looking into the sun. These fish have been in the lake for a while. They're not very big, but they're colored up and thick, very healthy. Oop. Come here. Oop, came out. That's good. When they take the jig, they don't necessarily take the float under. It's a pretty small float. They'll just vibrate the float just a little bit. And you can come up here with a spin cast and do the same thing. Just have to use a little bit bigger float, or put a little split shot underneath the float so you can cast it. Use 2-pound line. Come up here and catch a lot of fish. And if you don't catch fish when you get up here, fish 15-20 minutes, adjust your depth, probably go a little deeper, change colors. Like right now I'm fishing a jig that doesn't have any light colors in it, any gingers or peaches or chartreuse. Black and chartreuse usually works real good up here, but sometimes they just want just a dark jig. Don't go out and fish and assume they're going to catch or they're going to eat your favorite bait presented your favorite way every time. Change colors, change baits, change depths, change retrieves, change areas. So many people go out and they'll fish one way in one spot and they'll fish there for a couple of hours, not catch anything, and they'll go home and they'll complain about how bad the fishing is. Where you really, if you do that, you're really not giving yourself a chance to be successful. You just barely bumped it. Almost every time they're gonna catch it right at the top of the mouth, right in the nose. Usually just flip them right off. The other thing is you don't want to throw your float out so far that you can't see the little bit of vibration on your float. Because if you can't see that vibration, you can just be fishing and getting bites and never see it if I'm throwing way over there where I can't see. He's short, but he's got some shoulders on him. When I work the jig or work the float, I might move it 3 or 4 inches is all. Just want to move it just a tiny, tiny bit. So it didn't take much to move that jig to make it look alive. I usually let it sink all the way to the bottom and then start moving it. And there are times where they don't want it moved. I know Bill Babler's always preaching that sometimes you move it, and they don't hit it, and then you let it sit there for quite a while and they'll hit it. Sometimes they're in that mood where they just want it sitting there. Switching to a scud. This is a 14 gray scud. It's weighted. I'm gonna fish it about 5 foot deep. And right at the top of the Narrows. The Narrows is it's really changed. And we're getting a little breeze now, which is good. Except it's going to be a little bit harder to keep my boat where I want it. There is a lot of moss on the bottom. Gravel's just covered in moss. So I'm not sure. I'm going to check my scud here in a minute because I'm fishing it deep enough where it should be dragging the bottom. Oh, it's clean. Okay, now we're back in the shade. I see him down there swimming around the fly. Yep, he ate it. It was misty. Someone forgot his cap. I do have my sunglasses. I saw him down there chasing it. Caught him outside the eye socket. A little harder to get a hold of. Didn't get him in the eye, got him in the socket.